Hello and welcome to episode 434 of the official EstablishTheRun.com podcast. My name is Adam Levitan, as always joined by Evan Silva. And at long last, it is here, the 2022 NFL regular season. And more importantly, the first team-by-team pods of the season are here. Evan, what a time to be alive.
What a time to be alive. We got, I think, 5 of the matchup columns posted up on the site. There's 2 that are very nearly done, almost halfway done, and they should all be up by Thursday night. We're here.
We're here. On today's show, we are going to go team by team, talking about things we are watching for week 1 from a DFS perspective, trades perspective, waiver wire perspective. We'll be doing these shows each Tuesday, all season long, talking usage from the week before and fallout to catch you up quickly on everything you need to know all year. So be sure you are subscribed. I think those team-by-team ones we do throughout the season are super valuable. By the way, mentioned it already, but DFS season, aka the best season, is here. This is when it really matters to have the most reliable data and analysis. I know I've been saying it all summer, but no one takes projecting how football players perform more seriously than us. On top of that, we have the ownership projections. We have Silva's matchups column, as he alluded to, showdown analysis, and tons more. Really everything that I think you need to win at DFS. Annual, weekly, and monthly options are now all available on the subscribe page of the site. Check it out. Also, this podcast is brought to you by our friends at Underdog Fantasy. Absurd $2 million to first, $1 million to second. Fantasy tournament continues to run. $25 buy-in. Best way to put all this knowledge you've accumulated all summer to use. If you use promo code ETR when you sign up, they will match your first deposit up to $100. Again, promo code ETR at Underdog Fantasy, match your first deposit up to $100. All right, we're going to do the NFC here, Evan, and we'll start with the Arizona Cardinals. I mean, there's so much to chew on here with DeAndre Hopkins suspended and the shower narrative with Kyler and Marquise Brown, second-round pick on Trey McBride. But actually, what I'm watching in week 1 with Arizona is how they're going to use Rondale Moore. Last year, 1.3 yards average depth of target. I don't even think I can explain how low that is. It's the smallest ADOT ever for a wide receiver since PFF started tracking this in 2008. It's 3 to 4 yards lower than any other wide receiver in the league. But what if Arizona's telling the truth that Rondale is going to play the Christian Kirk role, and maybe Rondale also gets some backfield work? And while DeAndre Hopkins is out, like, the Cardinals really need Rondale Moore. So I'm hesitant to go nuts on Rondale Moore in week 1 because he's so small and Cliff is such a dolt. I don't trust him, but I can see the upside. So that's what I'm watching with the Cardinals in week 1. Evan, what do you have your eye on for Cardinals week 1?
Zach Ertz's injury situation. I mean, the guy's 32 years old. He's been battling a calf injury, and there's a Mackey Award nipping at his heels in second-round pick Trey McBride. Also want to see how the running back situation shakes out behind James Conner. The Cardinals kept, I think, 5 running backs on their 53, at least for now. And so I want to see how that goes. It sounds so far like, Benjamin is the clear number 2. But, I mean, there's probably a reason that they kept 5.
All right, let's go to the Falcons. One thing I'm watching with the Falcons is, can they get Kyle Pitts on linebackers and safeties more, not cornerbacks? It's obvious, I think, hopefully to the coaching staff, but it's obvious that it's easier and the underlying stats are so much better when Pitts runs routes against linebackers and safeties. He can win against corners, but it's obviously not the best thing. And so for Kyle Pitts to pay off this it's gotten really out of control, late second round, early third round ADP, I think they're going to need him on linebackers and safeties a lot. That's kind of a football guy take, but that is what I'm watching. Evan, any thoughts on that and anything else on the Falcons?
Yeah, I did the Saints-Falcons write-up for week 1, and I mean, as I got into writing it, I started to get really excited about Kyle Pitts. But you're right. You want him running routes in the middle of the field. It's actually not hard to get him matched up with linebackers and safeties. You got to get him running routes in the middle of the field and crossers and little slants and all that, and just get him the ball on the move. The way that guy moves is different than any other tight end in the NFL. I'll be monitoring Drake London's injury situation. It sounds like he's going to play in week 1. I mean, I would bet on that at this point, but he has not practiced since August 12th.
Yeah, tweaked his knee in that preseason game, did Drake London. Certainly watching that. Do think that it's a bit overrated week 1 stuff. And for season long, I think Drake London's going to be just fine. And he definitely dipped a ton in ADP, and I was soaking up some of that by the dip there on Drake London.
Yeah,
Carolina,
actually, I think he did get back into practice on Monday.
Yep, he did.
Yep, he did.
Okay. Carolina, I'll tell you what I'm watching, man. I'm just sitting there praying that Christian McCaffrey doesn't get hurt because I can't even face it. Like, we're going to have to delete all our social accounts if/when Christian McCaffrey gets hurt. Because I say if/when, because the truth is Christian McCaffrey plays running back in the National Football League. He is a favorite to get hurt this season, just like every other NFL running back is a favorite to get hurt this season. But I don't think Christian McCaffrey is any more likely to get hurt than any other running back. So basically, I'll just be watching every Carolina game, Evan, just sitting around praying that Christian McCaffrey doesn't get hurt. Kind of like I sat around and watched all the Texans games a couple years ago, just praying Will Fuller didn't get hurt. He didn't for the first 11 games, then he got suspended. But anyways, Christian McCaffrey, safe travels, bro. Be safe. Evan, what do you see on Carolina?
Yeah, I'm with you on that situation. And I did the Panthers-Browns write-up already. And I think that the way that the target projection and target pecking order sets up is just extremely favorable for DJ Moore. I mean, they don't have really a pass-catching tight end at all. Terrace Marshall has been an extreme disappointment to the extent that they actually traded for Laviska Shenault at the end of training camp. It sounded like Terrace Marshall was getting beat out by Rashard Higgins.
Mm-hmm.
And Robbie Anderson, I don't know. I don't know what to expect from Robbie Anderson this season. So the way that the target projections, like, this should be a monster year for DJ Moore.
Yeah, it gets to me early round 3, mid round 3, and I've been taking DJ Moore every single time. I have so much DJ Moore. Hope that one hits. The Chicago Bears. I mean, they have a very tough matchup in week 1. They are at home, but they play San Francisco 49ers. I'm watching to see if there's any progress in building a scheme around Justin Fields, because what they did to him last year was embarrassing, and they did not add to him at all in terms of personnel. And so if they don't improve the scheme for his skill set and work around his skill set, it's going to be really ugly once again. I'm hopeful that this staff is able to get him in position to make plays, because I still think the kid can play and he can succeed. He just needs a better support system around him. He doesn't have great players around him, but maybe he can have a better scheme. Anything on that, Evan? Anything else on the Bears?
Yeah, the Bears will be starting at left tackle a 5th-round rookie from Southern Utah by the name of Braxton Jones. In week 1, he will square off with Nick Bosa in a classic welcome to the NFL moment. So that could get rough. As training camp progressed, there started to be a little bit more like whispers that maybe Khalil Herbert could have a bigger role than expected. Now, if you look at the preseason usage, Dave Montgomery looks like a true every down back.
Yep.
But some of the beat writers have speculated that Khalil Herbert could end up as the lead back by the end of the season. The Bears, I mean, I think there's very little chance that they extend David Montgomery. I don't think he's a part of their future. He's a rock solid all around back. But it'll be interesting to see how they come out of the gate using Khalil Herbert, if at all.
Yep. I'm expecting mostly David Montgomery here. As the season goes along, that might change. But for September, I am expecting mostly David Montgomery. I'll be watching that also. Dallas, how is this team going to play? I mean, they're starting Noah freaking Brown as their wide receiver too. And so I think the way they probably want to play, and I think Evan has some notes on this too, is a more run-heavy approach. Mm-hmm. So how much can they load up on Zeke? How much does Pollard mix in on base downs? We know Pollard's going to be used as a receiver. Just how much? And so really it's the philosophy that I'm looking for out of Dallas. In neutral situations, are they going to go to this really run-heavy approach, even though they have Dak and CeeDee Lamb, and use Pollard, I think, as a pass catcher a lot more as well. So what do you think about that? Anything else on Dallas?
Yeah, over the weekend, Michael Gelkin, Dallas Morning News, used to be San Diego Union Tribune. Excellent beat writer, like maybe top 5 for me. He gave me a call, and I didn't have his number saved. So I had to be like, who's this? It's so embarrassing. Anyways, yeah. I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. But he wanted to talk Cowboys, and he did. Thinks that Jalen Tolbert is overrated.
Yep.
It's going to be Noah Brown as the number 2 receiver opposite CD. He thinks that Ezekiel Elliott, he buys, the team stance that Ezekiel Elliott's PCL injury was almost entirely to blame for his sluggish 2021 campaign. And, I ran by him, hey, we hear all the time that teams are going to use 2 RBs at the same time, that 1 RB is going to get snaps in the slot, and then it never happens, never comes to fruition during the regular season. And he's like, yeah, but this is different. Like, they're going to use the shit out of Tony Pollard as a receiver. And I was like, it's almost like they have to, because they are so lacking in explosiveness this year as compared to last. He also thinks that Rico Dowdle might actually have something of a role. We'll see about that. But yeah, I mean, the skill position talent going from last year in Dallas to this year in Dallas, I mean, it's like meteoric to the extent that it has diminished.
Yeah, and I think Michael Gallup will be back soon. He won't be back for week 1. I mean, in this game specifically, though, they're so desperate. Tony Pollard is such a good route runner and receiver. It just has the makings of being the outlier for Tony Pollard. He was going high, in full PPR. He was going in round 6. I wasn't getting him there as much. In the round 7 stuff, I was able to get some Tony Pollard. Let's go to Detroit. I'm watching DJ Chark. Later in the process, DJ Chark became one of my favorite kind of late round flyers. Can he regain his form? He's still only 25 years old, former second round pick in 2018, had a 1,000-yard season for the Jaguars in 2019. We know Jameson Williams is going to be out for a while. I'm not a big Josh Reynolds guy. And for our Lions, to be an explosive offense, I think they need DJ Chark to complement Amon-Ra and Swift really well. And I think he does that by stretching the field. And so I'm actually excited for DJ Chark. I'm optimistic that it'll happen right away for him against the Eagles. But if not, I'm looking for how he's used and all that. What are you looking for on the Lions? Our Lions, Evan. We need a win, first of all. That's what we need out of the Lions. We need a win, but also for your fantasy takes. Go ahead.
Yeah, I saw some lazy power rankings that were put out earlier today, and they had the Lions at 28th.
Oh.
So wrong. But, I did the Eagles-Lions write-up, and I got my first game total over bet of the season, over 48.5 on Lions-Eagles, and I really like it because both teams have awesome offensive lines, and the Lions have a shaky defense. And I think that, really shaky defense, actually, especially in the secondary. And I don't know if they'll be able to generate a ton of pressure, especially against Philadelphia. So I don't know. Go check out that write-up. I think that I think it turned out to be a pretty good one.
Good. Yeah, I'm really excited for that game. And we're going to be talking a ton about that because there's a ton of DFS options on both sides in that game that are cheaply priced. Let's go to Green Bay. My question when I'm watching Green Bay on Sunday is Allen Lazard an alpha? And I was, really skeptical. So I have no Allen Lazard in season long or best ball. But it's a bit scary fade because if Allen Lazard actually is the number 1 and can separate and get 23% of targets from Aaron Rodgers, I mean, he's going to be a smash where he was going in round, 6, 7, 8 or whatever. But I'm still really skeptical on it. Obviously, everybody's watching the wide receiver rotation here. We'll see if Allen Lazard is actually an alpha or not. My bet is on no, but we'll see. Evan, anything on Green Bay?
Well, it's going to be tough for Allen Lazard to be an alpha in the same receiver core as Sammy motherfucking Watkins. No, but Sammy Watkins wound up being my one of my favorite. Actually, on the AFC podcast, I'll mention my true favorite late round pick. But my favorite late round pick in the NFC, was Sammy Watkins because nobody wants to take him. He's locked into the starting lineup with Aaron Rodgers. Do I think he's going to play 17 games? Of course not. But I mean, I think I could get 4 or 5 usable weeks out of him. I think he's actually playable in week 1 against Minnesota. He's historically done really well, super small sample size, like 3 games, but he historically has done really well in week 1 games. And then he kind of fades as the season progresses.
Yeah.
But, I think that the comments from Aaron Rodgers himself late in the preseason were telling that we need to get Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon on the field as much as possible because we need to be playing our best 11. And those guys are absolutely among our best 11.
Undoubtedly. Rams. So this is a Thursday game. The Rams are playing. We've actually fired a ton of props on this game already. If you guys haven't checked out the props package yet, we blasted a ton on this game. We'll have plenty more. But yeah, I'm watching this Cam Akers versus Darrell Henderson thing, because all the history with McVay is he wants to ride one back. He wants to ride one back. Even when Cam Akers looked awful last year, rushed back from the Achilles in the playoffs, he still rode Cam Akers. Now, there's been a lot of talk this summer that it's going to be more split between Akers and Darrell Henderson. It's really hard to figure out. Like, I could see anything from 80-20 in favor of Akers to like straight 50-50 between Akers and Darrell Henderson. And so to me, that's the most important thing. That's what I am watching with the Rams in that Thursday night game. Evan, I know you've already written up this game. What do you think about the Rams?
Yeah, I thought it was interesting that the Rams only kept 2 tight ends on their 53. It's Bryson Hopkins behind Tyler Higbee. And then I also think that this target pecking order is so defined. You know, we love these narrow target distributions, right? We've had so much success over the years identifying narrow target distributions and then just absolutely hammering them. And that's what the Rams have, okay? Van Jefferson, I don't think he's going to play in week 1. He had 2 offseason knee surgeries. It's Cooper Kupp and Allen Robinson up top. And then we're talking about like Ben Skoranek and Tutu Atwell. And actually, I'll be interested to see if Lance McCutcheon, who was awesome in the preseason, gets some playing time in week 1, because the Rams are that thin at receiver, and they only kept 2 tight ends. And historically, they really haven't thrown to the running backs a whole lot either. So that's what I'm interested in. Am I right about this, that Cooper Kupp, obviously he's going to dominate targets, but can Allen Robinson also be a target dominator and wind up finishing as a top 10, top 15 receiver? Because I think he can.
Okay, let's go to the Vikings, Minnesota Vikings. Looks like Irv Smith is going to be fine. You know, they got a scare there where he hurt his finger, and it's always scary when you're drafting someone you want to catch passes and he has a broken finger about a month ago, but it sounds like he's fine and he's going to play. My question when I watch Minnesota is, are they actually going to change their scheme like we think they are and go more pass happy, more 3 wide receiver under Kevin O'Connell now that Mike Zimmer is gone? That's the assumption, but I don't know if that's definitely going to come to fruition. I mean, the McVay teams can go run heavy at times. So I hope that Minnesota plays more 3 wide receiver with KJ Osborne and throws it a lot more with Kirk Cousins. But I'm not sold that they're definitely going to do that. What do you think about Vikings heading into their matchup with the Packers?
Yeah, we've talked about them so much that I think we've just kind of hit on everything. But the one thing that I would add here is that I really want to be optimistic about the Vikings offensive line finally taking a big leap, because this team looks like it's going to start on the O-line, 3 second-round picks and 2 first-rounders. I mean, they have dumped resources into this O-line. Can they finally maximize the talent that they saw in these dudes coming out for the draft? It's really young, and they've used a ton of high picks on it. Can they finally maximize that talent that they've drafted?
Let's go to New Orleans. You know, I have this massive fade on Michael Thomas. Obviously, a lot of people disagree with me, and they think Michael Thomas is going to have a fine, if not very, very good year. Of course, you guys know my take on Michael Thomas this season. My bet is actually on Chris Olave to have just as good, if not better, season than Michael Thomas, and you can get him 4, 5, 6 rounds later at times. So yeah, that's what I'm watching. How does Michael Thomas look health-wise, and how does Michael Thomas fit with Jameis? We've pretty much, I know we've seen him with Teddy and Taysom a little bit, but the majority of his really incredible fantasy years were with Drew Brees. We'll see how he fares with Jameis. What do you think about the Saints, Evan?
I'm interested to see how they use Taysom Hill, because Taysom Hill has tight end eligibility across fantasy sites. And if he can somehow, have 4 pass attempts and a couple of goal line carries and, some rushing attempts each game, like, he's going to be scoring at, probably a top 15 at worst tight end level in fantasy. Yeah. So did they come out of the gate using him? He was banged up for a large portion of training camp. He was coming off of Liz Frank. He was cleared from that, but then he had a pretty significant rib injury. I want to see how he's utilized, if he's utilized in week 1 against Atlanta.
Yeah, it's really interesting to Taysom Hill at tight end eligibility stuff, because as Evan said, if he just runs a couple like RPOs inside the 5-yard line, I mean, that's better usage than most tight ends in the back end are going to get anyway. So that's definitely something to watch where Taysom is tight end eligible. Giants. I mean, this wide receiver situation, man, I was so excited for Daniel Jones to finally have a coach and some weapons. And the next thing you know, like Kenny Golladay looks like he's just total dust. He had some offseason procedure. He's running around like a mannequin per run on. Looks like he can't get open at all. Kadarius Toney has had knee, hamstring, and personal issues. Sterling Shepard, I don't know if he's going to be ready to play week 1 or not, but it doesn't look great for Sterling Shepard to have an early season impact. And so now all of a sudden you start to get really worried that maybe they don't have the weapons that we thought they would have. But I'm still excited. I just want to see if Kenny Golladay is really dust. Can Kadarius Toney stay on the field and be effective? Because if so, I think the Giants offense will be okay/good. But if they're not, it's just really hard when you're throwing to, Bellinger and David Sills and guys like that. So
yeah,
I'm looking forward to it. But yeah, what do you think about the Giants, Evan?
Yeah, I mean, if Sterling Shepard plays week 1, that could be problematic for Wan'Dale Robinson, who wound up being one of my favorite late round picks. But I'm very skeptical. That I know Run-On put a post up on Instagram, which thanks, Jordan. We people who aren't on Instagram can't even freaking read it. But I don't know. Did you get a chance to read that actually?
No, I actually don't have Instagram.
Okay. He put up something about his prediction for Sterling Shepard, and he tweeted it. And he said, "But you have to look at my Instagram." So I guess he's trying to get subscribers on Instagram or something. But yeah, I mean, I'm holding strong to my optimism on Wan'Dale Robinson. They are like desperate to get rid of Darius Slayton. We're doing this on Tuesday afternoon. Darius Slayton had a mysterious excused absence today, and the last guy who had an excused absence from Giant practice was like traded the very next day. So, but they're like desperate to get rid of this guy, even though their receiver situation is not good. I don't know. Maybe they think he's like a locker room problem or something. I mean, Darius Slayton can run. He's not very good at catching it.
Yeah, no, it's weird. I mean, they never gave him a chance ever since like even the spring. It was just like, oh, Darius Slayton is done with the Giants. Speaking of the NFC East, let's go to the Eagles. I'm so excited for this Eagles offense, man. I mean, Brandon Thorne's number 1 offensive line. You add A.J. Brown to Devontae Smith. I think Devontae Smith is an underrated baller. Obviously, everybody knows about A.J. Brown. They have Dallas Goedert. It's just set up so well for the Eagles offense to play. And really, I think they can win any way they want. I think they can be effective throwing. I really do. And I think they can be really effective running with their offensive line and Miles. So what's their philosophy going to be? Are they going to say, hey, let's play a modern style offense here with Jalen Hurts and just start ripping it? Or we're playing the Lions. Maybe they think that they can run the ball all over the Lions, which I certainly think that they can. And we'll just go with a bunch of Miles Sanders and Boston Scott and Gainwell. So we'll see what the philosophy is quickly, I think, with the Eagles. What do you think about them?
They just project as a hyper-efficient offense.
Yeah.
Surrounding Jalen Hurts with big-time weapons, Dallas Goedert, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and then Miles Sanders. And I know he's been frustrating in fantasy, and he makes on-field errors too often, and he gets hurt and stuff. But Miles Sanders, from a rushing standpoint, has been one of the most efficient runners in the NFL since entering the league. And I know we drafted him in the 7th and 8th round, all summer, and he's like a pretty good play against the Lions here in week 1. Agreed. So is he going to be able to fully capitalize and realize his potential? He's in a great spot behind this offensive line.
Let's go to the Seahawks. I don't even know what to say about the Seahawks, man. I mean, I still like Tyler Lockett. I still like DK Metcalf, but it's just hard to get excited about any Seahawks. Like, can Geno Smith and this offense play anywhere near league average? Like, just anywhere near it. I just don't know if Geno can. I actually think Geno's gotten a bad rap in the press. He's not as bad as people think he is, but he's still a backup quarterback in the NFL. Right. And they have not surrounded him well. So, I mean, I don't even know what to say about the Seahawks. I have some Lockett. I have a little bit of Metcalf and best ball stuff, but I definitely don't feel great about it. What are you looking for with the Seahawks, Evan?
Well, the first thing is, will Dissly outsnap Noah Fant?
I think yes.
Yeah. And then the health of Kenneth Walker, which we will figure out as the week progresses. Pete Carroll is normally like the most rose-colored injury analyst, among NFL head coaches, and he hasn't been particularly upbeat about Kenneth Walker's chances of playing in week 1 to this point. If it's not Kenneth Walker, we're going to see a lot of rushing attempts from Rashad Penny. Now that's going to be, they could be inefficient behind one of the worst offensive lines in the league. Although these young tackles that they drafted, they took Abraham Lucas in the 3rd round and Charles Cross in the 1st. Those dudes had great preseasons. So that could be a promising sign for them. But overall, the offensive outlook here is still gloomy in Seattle. But Rashad Penny could be very playable in week 1 if there's no Kenneth Walker.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if there is Kenneth Walker. And obviously, we know Rashad Penny from the end of last year can certainly make big plays on his own. San Francisco, there's so many questions around Trey Lance. I obviously have this fade on Debo. The running back stuff is kind of a mess. We have some bets on Eli Mitchell, unders versus the market. But actually, what I'm watching is George Kittle's usage. I saw George Kittle. We're doing this Roto World draft, and I had taken Waller in the 5th round. And it gets back to me at 7.7. And I'm like, I already have Darren Waller, but how can I pass on George Kittle at 7.7? So now I have this freaking team that has Darren Waller and George Kittle. Nobody wants to draft George Kittle. This is the best tight end in the entire NFL. All he needs is some volume to go off, and he's just going to wreck at a 6th or 7th round ADP. I just don't know if the scheme is going to be, hey, let's get George Kittle more looks, but I'm hopeful. And I think it's a bet really worth taking in round 6 or 7 and even round 5 on George Kittle. So what are you looking for on San Francisco?
Yeah, well, in that Roto World draft, you're drafting with a lot of spreadsheet socialists. So they hate good players. So that explains why George Kittle would fall that low. It's Trey Lance for me. Can he be consistent? Can he do what Kyle wants him to do? Can he avoid Kyle getting that itchy trigger finger to put in Jimmy Garoppolo in week 1? Like, the 49ers should be able to impose their will on maybe the worst team in the league in the Bears. But can Trey Lance figure this thing out? I think it's going to be an adventure. Can Kyle resist going to Jimmy Garoppolo? Because Jimmy's back. He was like, they try to push him out the door, but now he's back. And, he's going to be on the side, and then they know that they can win with him.
Yeah. The leash, obviously, I've thought about this a lot because Trey Lance's ceiling is unchanged. If Trey Lance goes out and just wrecks like everybody hoped he would, he's not getting benched, right? And that's how you win in fantasy anyways. If Trey Lance hits somewhere near his ceiling, 80th or 90th percentile. If he struggles, if he's average, then you start getting into really low floor where obviously the leash is going to be short if he's not playing well when they have Jimmy G. So yeah, it's everything changing dynamics on Trey Lance. Tampa Bay. Shout out Chris Godwin, man. One of my favorite players in the entire league. Shout out Penn State. It looks like he's pretty healthy, man. He's been practicing all camp, practicing without a knee brace this week. I don't know if he's going to play week 1, but he sounds close. And you can get him round 6, round 7 in home leagues. That's just way too late to me because people are overrating week 1 role. Chris Godwin seems very healthy to me. And if Chris Godwin had never had this ACL injury, he would have been 2nd round pick, 3rd round pick at worst. He's just such a baller. So I'm certainly watching the Chris Godwin stuff. One other thing that I wanted to bring up, Evan, I don't know if you saw this, but there was some news, in quotes, speculation that the Bucs wanted to back off Leonard Fournette a little bit. Simultaneously, Rachaad White moved up on their official depth chart ahead of Keyshawn Vaughn, ahead of Gio. Rachaad White is now listed directly behind Lenny. And that's exciting to me. Rachaad White could have some base value and massive contingent value. So I still like Rachaad White a lot. What do you think about that? Anything else on the Bucs?
Yeah, I thought that was awesome. There were 3 rookies who appeared on their final depth charts in very advantageous spots. And Rachaad White, obviously very foremost among them. Jaylen Warren, the undrafted rookie in Pittsburgh. We'll talk about him on the AFC show. And Dameon Pierce is the number 1 on the Houston depth chart. So that's pretty exciting. It's fun when rookie running backs have chances to get off to hot starts. The offensive line here is kind of the sleeping question in Tampa Bay, and you can read my write-up against Dallas for their opener against Dallas for a more in-depth discussion of that. But they've got a lot of turnover on the O-line.
Last team to hit here in the NFC is the Washington football team. I refuse to call them the Commanders. The Washington football team. I started taking a lot of J.D. McKissic in full PPR, around 13, 14, 15 towards the end here. I just think with Brian Robinson out and them hating Antonio Gibson, it just creates a better floor ceiling combo for J.D. McKissic. So I'm excited about how he'll be used here. in week 1. I believe they're playing the Jaguars. And also Jahan Dotson. I thought Jahan Dotson was just going way, way, way too late. I'm not sure on the talent gap between Terry McLaurin and Jahan Dotson is like insanely wide. So to be able to get Jahan Dotson, 8, 9 rounds later after Terry McLaurin, I was excited about that. What do you think about Washington football team heading into week 1?
Yeah, and having lost Brian Robinson, they wound up only keeping 3 RBs on their final 53, Antonio Gibson, McKissick, and Jonathan Williams.
Yeah.
And Jonathan Williams has been like bouncing around practice squads like forever.
Yeah.
Antonio Gibson is going to get a lot of carries in week 1 against Jacksonville.
Yeah.
And I mean, I know that the team is down on him, but it's like you can't, you figure out a way where he doesn't project for like 17 carries in week 1.
Yeah.
In a game that should be neutral script. And he was going in the 9th round.
We didn't take it, but I actually liked Antonio Gibson under 62.5 rushing yards. And we didn't take it. We had him projected for like 63 or 64 rushing yards. I just think that there's ways where they can get Jared Patterson off the practice squad, or Williams plays more than we think, or JD McKissick gets some more base carries than we think. They have Antonio Gibson on kick return. I mean, I get that it's changed now with Brian Robinson, but I'm still pretty low on Antonio Gibson. But
okay, fair enough. I mean, I think that he wound up being like an awesome 0 RB pick.
Yeah.
By the time that the preseason ended, but one thing we can definitely agree on is that JD McKissick is going to play a ton.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the one I'm excited about for sure. And the other thing about Antonio Gibson as a season-long pick is like Brian Robinson sounds like he's going to be back. Not in time in this month or any too soon, but it sounds like he has a pretty good chance to play this season, which is great news, obviously, for Brian Robinson. All right. That's going to do it for the first team-by-team NFC version podcast of the season. Stay tuned. Next episode, we'll be going through the AFC team-by-team. Be sure you have your in-season subscription all set up. Evan, myself, and Wiggins will be talking through the entire DFS slate on Friday night. Our projections and ownership projections will be up Wednesday night ahead of week 1. Our showdown for Thursday's massive opener. All our content for that is up, including Evan's matchup, Cody's breakdown, and our projections. For producer Luke, for Evan, I am Adam. Good luck, everybody.